Every state has their own highway system. It's usually state highways, but we find some uniqueness everywhere we look. Texas has farm-to-market roads, and these are routes leading from rural roads into cities, and several states have large parkway systems as well, with New York obviously coming to mind. Wisconsin specifically is somewhat known for their unique county road system, which uses letters rather than numbers, and are fairly well maintained and uniform across the state. But that's not what I'm talking about today. Today's focus is even less known, being the Rustic road system. This system is completely unique and serves a totally different purpose than most roads in the country, so let's talk about it today. Before the video starts though, please consider subscribing to the channel. We make geography and highway content just like this every week, so if you appreciate the content and want to support me, this is an easy way to do so. Thank you. Look at this map of rustic roads in the state. Nothing major stands out immediately, and if anything, it looks specifically not very cool, illustrating the undiscovered beauty of the system. To really get to know it, I need to do some on-the-ground research, so I spent the day exploring rustic roads in Wisconsin to learn more. Rustic Road 1 was dedicated in 1975 to this dirt road here north of Rib Lake and south of Timms Hill. It was specifically known for going through these valleys, past these lakes in the glacially formed valley here. It was the first of many of these rustic roads to be dedicated. The road is 5 miles long, leads you seemingly to nowhere, and it's pretty much all gravel, but that's the exact idea of the rustic road system. So what exactly are these roads? Well, rustic roads are a system of scenic highways in the state, created in an attempt to preserve the natural beauty of the state. But it's a bit more unique than it sounds. Sure, most states have some sort of scenic highway system. If you go somewhere like Utah, you can find the scenic byway system with somewhere like Highway 12 through the Bryce Canyon area being really cool. And going back to Wisconsin, there's the Great River Road along the Mississippi River, or the Door County Coastal Byway up the coast of the Door Peninsula. But this obviously has some differences, so let's get into the history to find out. Going back to around 1970, the state was continuing to grow and obviously suburbanize, with rural communities being affected by new developments, so the idea of defending these rural roads came to the forefront of environmental policy in the state. So, the idea of some sort of scenic road system was thought up. States across the country were creating scenic highway systems to preserve their most picturesque locations, but I guess Wisconsin aimed for some uniqueness in what they were trying to protect. The state has no mountains, not many cliffs, and no canyons that they were really looking to protect. So the issue actually ended up coming with protecting rural, lightly traveled roads and their rustic feel. So they decided on the rustic road system, being the only state in the union to create something of this nature. There are a few requirements. If I had a road and I wanted to designate it with that beautiful brown sign, I would need to make sure there's some sort of outstanding natural feature that sets my road apart from other roads. It must also have a low traffic volume and have no major improvements scheduled. Again, nothing crazy, but the next thought process is what I find the coolest. Rustic roads are required to be either a loop or have 2 major highways on each end, and by law, the speed limit must be 45 miles per hour or less. They are then intended by law to be maintained for the unhurried, quiet, and leisurely enjoyment of its drivers. And it then turned into some sort of local tourism where people could explore the state's rural culture and vibe and find these roads that nobody would really care too much about if they weren't designated. Every rustic road also has a guide attached to it, with this one being described as meandering through a hardwood forest and across the New Wood River. And this was no lie. Rustic Road 78 was probably my favorite one that I visited that day, going through a beautiful forest in an empty area. It really made you feel like there was nobody in the world but you and this thin gravel road. I then went up to Rustic Road 1 as shown earlier in the video, and that road was beautiful during the fall colors, which in turn led me to Timms Hill, the highest point in the state, which was surrounded by another rustic road, this time Route 62. The system did incredibly well at bringing you to other tourist destinations, making it easy for me to visit the top of Timms Hill, which had a beautiful view of the fall colors, which may or may not have something to do with why I'm uploading this video at this time of year. Other rustic roads also led me around the Minocqua area, a tourist destination in northern Wisconsin. These may not be the most iconic portions of the system though, which instead comes on Rustic Road 105 near Park Falls. This is another mostly unpaved road, but it leads you to a beautiful covered bridge. Built in 1991, the Smith Rapids Covered Bridge is one of the most iconic destinations on the Rustic Road system. It seems like it was built specifically for tourism, but it does a great job at that here in the National Forest. I think it's just another one of these really great examples of what the Rustic Road system is. It does very well at finding just these very rural, small roads that not a lot of people are going to think about, and being able to keep them in that historic condition that they were in. This one specifically is a nice gravel road. There's basically no cars around anywhere, and it takes you to this nice little covered bridge. You can stop and you can go by the river if you want to. You know, there are scenic highways in every single state. There's stuff like that, but the rustic road system is a very low-key way of tackling this issue, where you can find these off the beaten path roads that are going to take you to really nice places. It's always a good drive. There's not a single one of these where you can be disappointed in it, because it's not like they're hyped up to be something insane, you know? They're just little rustic roads, and you go on them and they're always just nice, pretty little drives. And that's all it's meant to be. It's just meant to be a little thing with it. There are some other notable rustic roads that I couldn't visit though. Route 32 in Marinette County is the longest road at 37 miles, passing through Governor Thompson State Park. Washington Island is home to Rustic Road 119, which literally includes like half of the roads on the entire island. And there's so many more throughout the state where that came from. As I alluded to before, there's 126 designated rustic roads covering around 760 miles across 61 counties in the state. As far as the secret of the rustic road system goes, most videos on this topic have like under 1,000 views, and the other ways to find them are difficult. They are totally invisible on Google Maps, and the only way to find them is if the actual road is being named after it, like Rustic Road 1. If you search something like Rustic Road 100, it ends up sending you to this tiny little road in central Pennsylvania, so it's really not very helpful. Texas has a unique farm-to-market road system, but those are marked on Google Maps. They're much more common, and they're way easier to find, illustrating the differences between the two. Rustic roads are a popular concept turned into something unique that works specifically for these local governments in Wisconsin. You do see a density of these roads in the southeast region of the state, which, sorry, is probably not the prettiest area, and that simply comes from people, roads, and pushing for them to get approved. But I do really think the place to look is up north, where some of these roads can be absolutely stunning, especially during this time of year. Thanks for watching. Thank you to the members this week: Andres Quintero, David Bennett, Hudson Valley Drones, Why Life is 4, Cranberry, Javier Campos, Devante, Underpass Music Official, The Autistic City Skylines Fan, Richard Horwell, Florida Jake, RFP Sub Rail Fanning, Dutch Vanderlyn, James Cermak, Rob R, Big Pasty, Jameson Headley, Colonel Potter, Eric Hare, Sir JC17, Jerome McCall, The Baked Fruit, Jesse Cook, J.L. Enrigo, Richard Law, Alexander Lichko, Laura Halliday, Charles Watson, Aiden Kyles, The Happy Hode, Grant Dickerson, Midwest Rail Fan, Mick Kastner, D. Stephen Phillips, CJ Brick, Resident Contrarian, Hazep the Wolf, Brock Sanders, Stephen Priestman, SB Wilder, Mickey Smartinoff, Kurt Ainsley, KMS162, Bryson, Rosebud 4, Darkbird 70, Snyder Schwein, and Ryan Devins. I appreciate you all so much. You've done so much for the channel. If you want to become a member, the link is down in the description below. All this money just goes straight into my savings, so I promise you it's going to a good cause. I'm saving all this money for my future, so if you appreciate the content and you want to support me, this is by far the best way to do it. I can always use the extra money, so thank you so much to everyone who's become a member and everyone who will become a member in the future.